This is Movietone. Leslie Mitchell reporting. Encirclement of the Reich has finally come to pass. No counter-offensive can obscure that fact. It was encirclement against which the Nazis raised their phony propaganda before the war when they were shrieking for Lebensraum. Now, as the result of their desperate gamble for world domination, they've achieved the military encirclement which they dreaded. The campaigns of 1944 which have brought this about were planned at Tehran. The three leaders met in the capital city of Persia and between them reached an accord which has carried the Allies on from victory to victory. The Russians swept forward in their mighty winter offensives across the Dnieper and down from Leningrad. In the spring, liberating devastated city after city, they reached the borders of Poland and moved towards Roumania. Summer found them driving through the Balkans in the general direction of Hungary, while other armies lined the Vistula and stood on the boundaries of East Prussia. Britain and America, with the lines stabilized in Italy, established that gallant beachhead at Anzio. A spectacular bombing of the monastery at Cassino was the prelude to the main action when the Germans' bolt position was shattered. And the Germans got out of Rome as the Fifth Army entered the Eternal City in triumph. It was all very wonderful, but there were greater things to come. D-Day, Day of Destiny, June the 6th, on the beaches of Normandy. Pictures which will become as historic as the famous shot of Dunkirk. At Caen, the battles to break out of the beachhead. British and Canadians pinned down the Nazi armor, while the Americans burst out of the Cherbourg Peninsula and rolled up the enemy's flank. Prisoners, thousands and thousands of them, caught in the Falaise pocket as the result of our Normandy victory. The liberation of Paris, what a day that was, or rather what a series of days. De Gaulle walked down the Champs-Élysées, wildly cheered by exultant crowds. FFI men and women fought individual skirmishes with snipers, and another shot, which will be shown again and again, seized weapons from stricken German stragglers. The British Second Army sprang suddenly forward in a whirlwind advance from the Seine to Brussels, and another capital city went crazy with joy at its restoration to freedom. More bold strategy, and the gallantry of the 1st Airborne Division nearly gained the whole of Holland. Isolated for more than a week, the men of Arnhem held on until 2 of the 3 bridges were secured. The Battle of the Approaches to Antwerp followed, fighting in the autumn rains across the low-lying flats and waterways of the Scheldt estuary for the entry into a great port. Meanwhile, the Americans had penetrated the sacred soil of the Reich, breaching the Siegfried Line and capturing Arnhem, the Allies' first prize in Germany itself. And if southern England, including the London area, suffered further damage from Hitler's V weapons, that was poor satisfaction for the Führer. His generals hatched a plot against him in July, in which he apparently had a narrow escape, sustaining injury and shock. The authors of the plot were rigorously liquidated by Himmler, now more than ever the power in Nazism. The sinking of the Tirpitz in Tromsø Fjord by RAF Lancasters was another item of solid gain to the Allies. "1944's succession of achievements all flowed from the meeting of war leaders. Among them, Mr. Churchill has been indefatigable in his travels. Now that President Roosevelt is re-elected for another 4 years, the triumvirate must surely meet again to plan the death blow at the Nazis in 1945. But 1944 has also witnessed a great advance in the war against the other aggressor nation. Japan's periphery of outposts has been pierced by air-sea power, Americans and Australians have carried the war back to the Philippines, while British, Indians, Americans and Chinese have converged through northern Burma on the old Burma Road. Desperate battles on Pacific Islands have been fought by the men of MacArthur's command and by Marines under Admiral Nimitz. American strategy, assured of naval supremacy, has bypassed Japanese garrisons except where they occupy stepping stones in the Allied path. We can imagine the grim satisfaction of MacArthur in landing once again on capture of the Philippines will give the Allies a jumping-off place for the hop, skip and leap to Tokyo. The Japanese are well aware of this, and the very threat brought out their fleet, which suffered a severe mauling from the US Navy's air power. Meanwhile, the Japanese have made their bid to invade India and have been thrown back by Britain's 14th Army. Chindits operating in the heart of Burma have joined up with Chinese and British columns coming down the valleys from the northern hills. If events in Europe had not been charged with such drama, what headlines would the story of the 11th Army Group have achieved? The time is coming, during 1945, when after Germany is defeated, the British Empire must swing its might and energy into the battle against the Japs. Armies must go east, and having excelled in one type of fighting, school themselves to learn a new technique, the technique of jungle fighting. Fleets and aircraft must accompany them, long-range units adapted to the great distances of Far Eastern strategy. War does not end for us with the surrender of Germany. The war in the East may extend beyond 1945 or 46. And because we've grown accustomed to victory in the West, it mustn't make us, soldier or civilian, careless or impatient in our war with Japan. The Japanese are potentially, in the future, a greater danger than Germany. For all their dignified hoodooism, they're savages, barbaric in their conceptions of honor and treachery. The Japanese are a crafty and persevering people with a great sense of discipline and an imitative capacity which has enabled them to build up a vast war organization with its own not inconsiderable industrial machine. Nothing less than an all-out effort will suffice against such a foe. Let it be our resolve in 1945 to dig the grave of the Yellow Empire with as much determination and thoroughness as we have applied to the overthrow of Germany.